The story is set in the city of Marseille, France, where we are introduced to a man named Charlie Mattei. He was once the most feared and influential mafia boss in the city. However, after deciding to retire from the mafia world, Charlie now lives a peaceful life with his family, including his 2 children, Eva and his youngest, David. One day, while spending time with David, Charlie decided to stop by a market to buy some snacks. However, David was more interested in watching a performance involving spinning goats. Charlie gently put David down and asked him to wait for a moment while he went to park the car in the basement. But suddenly, a group of masked men appeared and brutally shot Charlie. Despite being showered with bullets, Charlie's body still showed some signs of movement. Fortunately, he was rushed to the hospital to receive medical treatment. Charlie's severe condition forced the doctors and medical team to fight hard to remove 22 bullets lodged in his body. This incident immediately went viral, shocking all the residents of Marseille, including the police chief and his subordinate, a detective named Mary Goldman. Mary was personally instructed by her commander to investigate the case and find out who was behind the attack. Upon arriving at the crime scene, Mary noticed something strange. She observed 6 bullet holes that seemed to have been deliberately aimed at the same spot, almost as if they were sending a secret message. Through this investigation, a shocking fact emerged. Charlie Mattei was a former mafia kingpin who had once been the ruler and most feared figure in the city. Since a young age, Charlie had embarked on his career as a mafia and successfully built a business empire that included nightclubs, karaoke bars, casinos, massage parlors, PlayStation rental shops, coffee stalls, and various other ventures. These endeavors had made Charlie's name highly respected in the criminal world. However, 3 years ago, Charlie decided to turn over a new leaf and retire from being a mafia boss. He sold all his businesses to 2 men he considered as his own brothers, Tony and Aurelio. Tony was seen gathered with his family when he suddenly received shocking news from one of his henchmen about the attack on Charlie. We are then introduced to Tony's arrogant nature, as he scolded one of his men for entering the room without knocking first. Meanwhile, his partner, Aurelio, was even more ruthless. He showed no hesitation in shooting one of their men, who was caught embezzling a small amount of the organization's money to pay for his mother's medical expenses. Tony and Aurelio truly had no tolerance, no mercy, and no sense of compassion. Their cruel personalities made them perfect partners in the mafia business. Meanwhile, Charlie was slowly recovering from his coma and was still lying in a hospital bed. Suddenly, Mary, the detective, arrived and tried to gather information from Charlie in hopes of finding clues about who was behind the shooting. Charlie, still in pain and enduring multiple gunshot wounds, could only say that he didn't know anything and provided no further information. After Mary left, 2 of Charlie's old henchmen, Karim and Martin, both of whom had also retired from the mafia world, arrived to visit him. Seeing Charlie's weakened and pitiful condition, Karim immediately became enraged and vowed to hunt down those responsible for the attack. Martin, however, tried to calm Karim down, urging him to be patient and not to act recklessly. He suggested that they wait until Charlie fully recovered so they could devise a more calculated plan. In the quiet and eerie atmosphere of the hospital, a man disguised as a doctor appeared, clearly sent with one mission: to eliminate Charlie. However, once again, Charlie's life was spared, thanks to Mary, who had decided to move Charlie to another room after she realized that the attacker would return to finish the job. The next morning, Tony arrived at the hospital to visit his old friend, Charlie. Tony's arrival sent waves of fear through the police officers guarding the area, and upon realizing who had just entered, they quickly chose to leave. After Tony left, a doctor examined Charlie and delivered bad news. Several nerves in Charlie's right hand had been damaged, leaving his fingers numb and unable to move. Martin soon arrived at the hospital and took Charlie away from there to meet someone who they believed had information about the people behind the attack. However, Mary had already caught on to their plan through the hospital's CCTV cameras, and she immediately began pursuing them. Realizing they were being followed, Karim asked a friend to help them find a secure route to evade Mary. Finally, they arrived at an old building, where they found a man who had been captured. The man was none other than Freddy, one of Tony's henchmen. Upon seeing Charlie, Freddy was overcome with terror. He even wet his pants in fear, trembling uncontrollably. Freddy revealed the truth behind what had happened. Tony had been planning to expand his illegal business in the city, specifically involving the trafficking of drugs and other illicit substances. This business, of course, would have infuriated Charlie, as it would poison the city he called home. Tony, well aware that Charlie would never allow such a thing to happen and would stand in his way, made the decision to eliminate his old friend. He sent a team of 8 men to finish the job and get rid of Charlie, his once trusted friend, for good. Hearing Freddy's confession left Charlie in disbelief. He could never have imagined that Tony, his close friend, would dare betray him. Upon realizing that their boss was being hunted, Charlie's men proposed escalating the matter. They wanted to retaliate by killing Tony. However, Charlie, now desiring a peaceful life, decided to forgive Tony's treachery and even Freddy's betrayal. He firmly forbade the 3 of them from seeking revenge. After uncovering the mastermind behind everything, Charlie was taken home by Martin. The moment he walked in, tears of relief and joy flowed uncontrollably. Everyone was grateful to see that Charlie had survived his critical condition and could once again be with his beloved family. Karim, whose background was from a humble Muslim family, lived a simple yet happy and peaceful life. But little did they know that their happiness would be shattered. Tony's men came and kidnapped Karim, taking him to an unknown location. The mastermind behind this abduction was Freddy, who had been spared by Charlie, but showed no gratitude for the mercy he had received. Then, we were introduced to one of Tony's most brutal henchmen, Pascal. Without hesitation, Pascal shot Freddy just for talking too much. But the cruelty didn't stop there. Pascal demanded a knife to dismember Karim's body and feed it to his starving dogs. The pain was unbearable for Charlie, as he stood witness to the mourning family weeping over Karim's body at his funeral. Charlie's rage boiled to its peak. A dark whisper began to creep into his soul, urging him to create a circle of karma, revenge. Before executing his plan, Charlie instructed one of his loyal followers, Susan, to hide his family in a safe place, somewhere they couldn't be tracked by anyone. Meanwhile, on the other side, Tony's men and Pascal were celebrating the birthday of one of their comrades. Proudly, they believed they were invincible, untouchable by anyone. But little did they know, Charlie had arrived, holding a gun in one hand and a grenade in the other. The sudden appearance of Charlie sent waves of fear through the group. His arrival wasn't meant to massacre them, but to issue a warning. Charlie gave Pascal and the others a chance to leave, to go home and reunite with their families. He wanted them to feel the weight of regret, to experience the fear of being hunted, and the constant terror of death looming over them. Because, whether now or later, Charlie would return to finish them off. One by one, with no one left alive. As a beginning, Charlie swiftly took out one of them, proving that his warning was not a threat to be taken lightly. On the other side, Susan had taken Charlie's family to a safe place and became their protector, ensuring they would be secure while Charlie continued his mission. His next target was the long-haired man, who was visiting his son's grave. The long-haired man could do nothing but surrender, as he realized that there was no escaping Charlie Mattei. It had become a clear fact, no one could evade Charlie's wrath. This incident, of course, caught the attention of the authorities. Mary, still busy investigating Charlie's shooting case, was now faced with a new one, the deaths of several of Tony's men. Mary decided to confront Tony at his house, hoping to extract information from him about the deaths of his subordinates. Tony, knowing that Charlie was the one responsible, denied any knowledge to Mary. He claimed to have no information. Tony was concerned that if he revealed the truth, the police would dig deeper into the case, which could potentially drag him into trouble as well. Without wasting time, Tony immediately ordered his men to raid Charlie's house, hoping to uncover where Charlie was hiding. Sure enough, Martin, who knew about the raid, rushed to find Charlie and report the situation. However, he was unaware that Tony's men were tailing him, and soon enough, Charlie's location was discovered. Tony's men immediately stormed Charlie's hideout, and a gunfight ensued. Outnumbered, Charlie ordered Martin to escape, but unfortunately, he was caught. Charlie, deciding to flee, hopped onto a KLX motorcycle to make his escape. A high-speed chase followed, and during the pursuit, Charlie made a bold decision. He deliberately crashed into a group of police officers, hoping that his enemies would no longer focus on him. Charlie was eventually taken to the police station, where Mary interrogated him. At the station, Mary shared some concerning findings from the crime scene. Of the 22 bullets that had struck Charlie's body, there were noticeable bullet holes intentionally aimed off target. This suggested that, out of all the shooters, one individual clearly didn't intend to kill Charlie. Mary, realizing the mastermind behind these incidents was Tony, decided to release Charlie. However, since she lacked solid evidence to arrest him, she proposed that they work together to take down Tony as soon as possible. Meanwhile, it was revealed that Martin had sided with Tony, and he had been involved in the attempted murder of Charlie. Some time passed, and Tony was seen hosting a wedding celebration for one of his men, Samsel, who had been considered like a son to him. At the same time, Charlie approached Tony's trusted henchman, Frank, who was in charge of managing the administrative side, including all of Tony's business transactions and financial records. Charlie forced Frank to transfer all the data to a flash drive before ultimately killing him. Upon discovering that his administrator had been killed, Tony flew into a rage and began orchestrating a ruthless plan. In cold blood, Tony ordered the execution of 2 more of Charlie's allies. The first was a bodyguard who was spending time with his mother in the park, and the second was Samsel, who was supposed to enjoy his first wedding night. The deaths of Tony's men made Charlie a wanted man by the police. The commander tasked Mary with capturing Charlie immediately. However, being the sharp detective she was, Mary knew this was all part of a trap set by Tony. Meanwhile, Charlie disappeared, leaving Mary at a loss for his whereabouts. She decided to try tracking him down by tracing the phone number he often used to communicate with his family, who were hiding in a secret location. Unbeknownst to Mary, the phone conversation was intercepted by Tony, revealing the location of Charlie's family. Tony quickly dispatched his men to the location, leading to the abduction of Charlie's 2 children. During this tragic event, Susan was brutally killed while trying to protect them. Both of Charlie's children, Eva and David, were kidnapped. However, shortly after, Eva was found battered and beaten on the side of the road. She had been intentionally released as a messenger, with a grim warning: Charlie must surrender to Tony, or they would kill his youngest son, David. knowing that his children were being drawn into this nightmare shook Charlie to the core. Desperate, he sought out Mary, the only person he could trust. Charlie asked for her help to spread false news that the police had successfully captured him. With this fake report, Tony would stop hunting him, giving Charlie the opportunity he needed to save his son.
Mais vous me laissez libre. C'est ça qui a me grand tort.
Seeing the news of Charlie's arrest, Tony fully believed it to be true. Even the police commander was surprised by the announcement. However, instead of releasing Charlie's son, Tony ordered Pascal to kill the innocent child. Tony's greed had no bounds. He wanted to take control of the entire city of Marseille for himself. He also planned to eliminate his own partner, Aurelio, to cement his power. Meanwhile, as Pascal headed to the location where Charlie's son, David, was being held, Charlie secretly followed him on his NMAX motorcycle. When Pascal arrived, he ordered one of his henchmen, whom we will call Mang Uden, to kill Charlie's son. But unlike Pascal, Mang Uden still had a conscience. In a surprising act of defiance, he chose to stand against Pascal to save David. Pascal then took David to another location, intending to execute him. But just in time, Charlie arrived. A fierce fight broke out between the two men, which Charlie ultimately won, rescuing his youngest son. Meanwhile, elsewhere, Tony's men had already killed Aurelio and his crew, leaving Tony to believe that he was now the sole mafia boss who would rule the city. Tony's confidence was shattered, however, when he saw Charlie standing right inside his own house. At that moment, Tony confessed the truth. He admitted that he never had the courage to stand up to Charlie. Charlie had always been the one person who could obstruct his ambitions. While both had grown up together as partners in the mafia world, it was Charlie who became the most influential and feared figure in Marseille. Feeling overshadowed and sidelined, Tony concluded that the only way to change his fate was to get rid of Charlie. Even though he had been betrayed, Charlie decided to spare Tony's life. All he wanted was to live peacefully with his family. Ungrateful, that was the perfect word for Tony. Blinded by his ambition for power and wealth, he instead turned against Charlie. But luckily, Mary and the police arrived just in time. Mary's success in solving the case left the police commander feeling satisfied with her work. However, the commander was not much different from Tony in terms of greed. He demanded that Mary credit him as the one who personally handled the case, so he could get promoted. Without hesitation, Mary handed her superior the recognition he wanted. Thanks to Mary's help, Charlie was finally allowed to go home after handing over the flash drive containing evidence of the murders and the illegal dealings. But as Charlie was about to leave, Martin unexpectedly came to pick him up. During the ride, Charlie asked Martin to take him to the basement where Tony's men had shot him. Upon arriving at the scene, the truth was revealed. One of the bullets that hit the wall was fired by Martin. Martin's face instantly showed fear, knowing that Charlie had uncovered his involvement in the shooting. Reluctantly, Martin confessed that Tony had ordered him to kill someone, but when his target turned out to be Charlie, Martin intentionally aimed his weapon to miss. Deep down, Martin had never intended to kill Charlie. A person who cannot forgive is not human, Charlie said, showing his kindness once more. He granted Martin the chance to live and urged him to repent. The film ends with Charlie and his family at the beach, watching the beautiful sunset, enjoying the peace they had longed for.